Hello, this will be a demonstration of proposition 19 from book 5 of Euclid's Elements, which says that if a whole be to a whole, just as a part subtracted is to a part subtracted, the remainder will be to the remainder, just as the whole is to the whole. What we've thus been given is that the whole AB is to the whole CD, just as the part subtracted AE is to the part subtracted CF. And what we're going to prove is that the remainder EB is to the remainder FD, just as the whole AB is to the whole CD. Now, having been given that AB is to CD, just as AE is to CF, we can alternate this proportion by proposition 516 to say that BA is to AE, just as DC is to CF. Now, BA being to AE, just as DC is to CF, we can apply proposition 517 to separate these ratios out and arrive at another proportion, so that we can say that BE is to EA, just as DF is to CF. Now, how we arrived at these ratios, for example, BE to EA, is by separating BA and AE. So what separando means is that you take the excess by which the antecedent exceeds the consequent in relation to the consequent. So given this ratio, BA to AE, BA being the antecedent and AE being the consequent, separating this ratio is going to look like taking the amount by which BA is greater than AE in relation to the consequent AE. Now, BA is obviously greater than AE by EB, which means that we're going to take this value B in relation to the consequent EA, and this is how we're going to arrive at this separated ratio. And a similar explanation follows for how we go from DC to CF to DF to CF, so that in the end, again by proposition 517, we can say that BE is to EA just as DF is to CF, which means again we can alternate this proportion by proposition 516 and say that BE is to DF just as EA is to CF. But we know we were given that EA is to CF just as AB is to CD, which means we have two ratios which are the same with the same ratio, which means they are the same with one another by proposition 511, which means that we can say that BE is to DF just as AB is to CD. Now this is what we set out to prove, which means we are done with the proposition, therefore, etc. QED. Now there is a porism appended to this proposition. From this, it is manifest that if magnitudes be proportional componendo, they will be proportional convertendo. Now how we arrive at this porism is fairly straightforward, but it takes a little bit of extra thinking. In our first step, we said that BA is to AE, just as DC is to CF. Right? That was our first step here, just alternating our given. Now, if we were to convert these ratios, for example, if we were to convert BA to AE, what that's going to look like is taking the excess by which, it's taking the antecedent in relation to the excess by which the antecedent exceeds the consequent. So here what that's going to look like is taking the antecedent BA in relation to the amount by which BA is greater than AE, and this is obviously EB. And likewise, converting this ratio DC to CF is going to look like DC to FD. And so if we say that these are proportional, then by proposition 516, we can alternate these again to say that AB is to CD, just as EB is to FD. But this is obviously true. This is what we proved at the end of the proposition, which means that if magnitudes be proportional convertendo, or if they be proportional componendo, they will be proportional convertendo. That's about all I have to say about this proposition. So in the video here, move on to proposition 520.